Let me tell you a story of a man sick and tired of 7 out of 10 anime ruining his life. The man was on the lookout, like a traveler lost in the desert looking for water, and he found an oasis. It was called Kingdom. And so the traveler rested and drank his fill, and when he was done, he came here, spread the message through the rest of the desert so that others may drink too. Hey, what if I told you guys that this was actually peak? You would tell me to go perform fellatio on myself, which is an understandable reaction to seeing this, but this really is the best thing you're gonna watch all season. Look, I know that it looks like everybody in the animator's room was on a mushroom trip, but hear me out. It is very good, but it has its drawbacks. At first glance, this will seem like a first grader's first really poor attempt at drawing characters. The initial story beats are rushed as well, and you aren't given a chance to settle in, but once you do, boy does it work. The first season is 34 episodes, with the pilot being 50 minutes long, and the rest of the episodes being 20 minutes each. The animation does quote-unquote improve around the halfway mark of the season, but it's just that they start using the forbidden 3-frame lock technique instead of using CGI. So right now, it sounds like a piece of shit, so why would you watch it? Well, the first reason is we're gonna start out in a bit of a reverse order here, but the ending to season 1 is genuinely, without doubt, one of the most satisfying and emotional endings to a season of an anime I have ever witnessed. And I was in a weird position because I know it shouldn't be possible with the slop animation I'm witnessing on screen. But I was captivated regardless, and you will be too if you give this absolute gem a chance. Not only is the story hype as fuck towards the end, but towards the middle as well. The political games played in Kanyo, the capital of Chen, where our heroes reside, and how everyone tries to grab power for themselves while pretending to like each other is disgusting, but also pretty cool. The characters, except for some anime weirdness which you will have to account for no matter which anime you watch, are very good. They're well written, and I want to say they're grounded, but as you will see in the complaints section, they're not really grounded. That's not really the case, so I don't want to lie to you. What they are, however, is what I've already mentioned. They're hype as fuck. Every character will have a moment that will have you going, I knew you had it in you, but there'll be moments which will make you cringe to your bones. Unfortunately, that's just something you have to accept when it comes to anime. And we're gonna get to all of that, but even though the list of complaints with this anime is pretty big, I am telling you it is well worth it, because it is. Now, let's get back to the beginning of the story. The story takes place in the Warring States period of China. Also, on a side note, what is with Chinese history and people always scheming and warring to take power? I swear to God, I've heard or read about 0 periods of Chinese history where at least one eunuch wasn't trying to cut the child king's throat and take the throne. What they got going on in China, man? Anyway, our story follows 2 orphans who've been made into slave boys after their parents died, but harbor dreams of becoming great generals one day. Li Shen or Ri Shen and Piao or Hyo of Chen or Shen. Now wait a minute, you say. That sounds like a lot more names than just 2. Well, when I first watched the anime, the totally legit and legal streaming service I was streaming this on fucked up the names of the characters and places in translation. Or at least that's what I thought, until I looked up why the names were different in the title versus the episode. For example, in one of the episodes, one of the 6 great generals of Shen or Chen, Oki or Wang Yi, takes the field to fight for himself. But the episode itself is titled Wang Yi Takes the Field. What the fuck, right? In the episode, they refer to him as Oki, and throughout the season as well. So I do some research and turns out they gentrify China again. I mean, change the names. No, please, change the names. Don't. I am gonna use the Japanese names here because that's what they use in the sub, and I watch the sub because I'm a civilized human being. But if you watch the dub and are watching the video, just know that you're gonna be a little bit confused. So Shin and Hyo plan to make great generals, the greatest generals ever. In fact, they sword fight each other every day. No, not like that, you sicko, they're 10. Practice fighting each other every day until they're noticed by King Sei's closest advisor, Shobun-kun. King Sei expects a revolt from his brother Seikyo. Seikyo is basically the Prince Joffrey of this anime, except he's killed off way sooner. He's a sadistic piece of shit who thinks poor people aren't allowed to exist. And the only reason he wants to be king is because he thinks Sei is from a concubine whore and should not be allowed to be king, even though that was his father's wish. The king, Seikyo's brother, Issei, is in a fucked up position because he doesn't have enough power to squash the rebellion. Now, Hyo is not only a very good fighter and a strategist, but also happens to look almost exactly like King Sei. This being too wonderful a coincidence to ignore, Shobun-kun invites Hyo to court to act as a decoy for the king when the rebellion does happen. Well, the rebellion happens, Hyo gets slimed, as the kids say, and Shin meets up with the king with Hyo's dying instructions because Hyo actually makes it back to Shin's hut before he dies, as he's bleeding out. After some deliberation and anger on Shin's part because of the king having used Hyo as a decoy, they both make it out alive, with a chicken girl, Ka Ryo Ten, guiding them. They meet up with Sho Bun Kun, rally up with the mountain folk, always surviving by the skin of their teeth because they've had multiple assassins sent after them, and at last squash Seikyo's rebellion with the help of the mountain folk, which were also gonna kill them by the way, but Eisei convinced them not to because he wants to unite the Middle Kingdom. Long story short, they squashed the rebellion. They killed a minister supporting the rebellion, and in my opinion, this is where the story really gets going. This is where the anime finally starts getting good. Middle Kingdom, where the country Chin is located, is a bunch of warring states always fighting each other for power and control. Eisei's vision is a united Middle Kingdom, where he wants to conquer all of Middle Kingdom and have it under one flag. Shin's vision, having avenged the murder of Hyo with the killing of the assassin, is to fulfill the vision he had with his friend and become the world's greatest general. They both have to overcome obstacles of their own, with Eisei politically battling Ryofei, the minister of the right of Chin, and Ryofei's faction happens to have way more power than the king himself in the kingdom of Chin. And Ryofei is playing at deposing the king eventually and becoming king himself, whereas Eisei doesn't obviously want that to happen. The meat of the story, however, is in Shin's story, because he wants to make general. In order to make general, he has to climb the ranks from a foot soldier. That's where the show really shines with its show of... So think about this, right? This one general is fighting this other general on the battlefield, and both personalities feel larger than life itself. General 1 comes up with a brilliant strategy to defeat General 2, but aha, General 2 had already expected this and countered that strategy, and then that general counters the other general's strategy, and so on and so forth. Sometimes they have different fighting styles where one general will be super aggressive and the other will be super tactical. Other times they'll be outmatched, but will make it through because of their valor and grit. So yeah, if you like that sort of thing, you're gonna love the show. From what I understand, some of the strategies are actually from real battles, like General Hannibal's give way in the middle and surround the troops track. Anyway, it's a very fun watch if you're a fan of historical battles, strategy games, or if you like smart characters in general. The problem, however, is the... So, remember when I said they use the forbidden 3 frames per second lock technique? I wasn't joking. You will see dudes wipe out an entire squadron of dudes with a single swipe of their poleaxe, and all you'll get is a singular frame. This is not acceptable animation, but it's worth ignoring for the things I mentioned before. Just don't go into it expecting Demon Slayer level action, or even Death Note level action, to be honest. I have only watched season 1, but I've seen other people telling me that it's gonna get better. I have been perusing the old Reddit forums, and I've been told that it gets a lot better in the following seasons, which makes sense. Game of Thrones almost got cancelled in the pilot. We can give this one a season of bad animation if things don't go take a nosedive from season 5 on. Alright, that's it. End of the video. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys next time. Goodbye.